Alright, let's go ahead and get underway. Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the low back, the lumbar spine, talking about how we move in our yoga practice, and figuring out some different tools to help us move with a little more awareness of this area of our body to help support the low back and to make sure you're doing the best for your low back every time you get onto your mat. So when you leave your mat, that low back is going to be feeling good and it's going to be working functionally for you throughout the times you're not on your mat. So let's go ahead and get underway in one of my absolute new favorite postures for the low back. I have some low back stuff, if some of you didn't know that already, from when I pulled my hamstring, and I still have some low back stuff going on from that. So I have a lot of fun little tools that we can start to use to get that low back feeling good because I have been there. So let's go ahead and start on the back. I'm going to have a pillow underneath my head, and I'm going to get another pillow underneath my low back, or really around the pelvis, the sacrum area. And then I'm going to have a block nearby as well. And this doesn't have to be a block, this could also be another pillow. You can play around if you don't have a specific block to hand. So one underneath the pelvis, one underneath the head. Bring your feet so that they're about at the corners of your mat, fairly wide. So we're internally rotating in the thigh bones. That's going to help free up some space in the lower back. And then take a block or a cushion, whatever you've got, between your knees, just to create a little extra space there. Bring one hand above the belly, one hand above your low ribs. Tuck your chin. Give your block a little bit of a squeeze here, so you're just, or whatever you got, just give it a nice little squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Feel maybe your glutes fire, the inner thighs fire. Inhale and exhale, release that grip and just allow everything to soften. All those muscles of the inner thighs soften, and you're just passively resting the inner knees against that block. And this is going to create some lovely space throughout the low back. Maybe you even feel some sensation there already. If you can close your eyes, please do so. You can close your mouth, please do so. Now, bring your feet much wider, babe. Bring your feet further apart. Shanae, bring your feet further apart as well if that's available to you. Yeah, that's it. So that way we can really internally rotate through the thighs there. That's why we have the feet wide. Begin to observe your breath as it moves in and out of your nose here. Not trying to alter the breath, but just noticing its unique quality and rhythm today. Observe where you feel a sense of movement through the breath cycle. And observe where you can find a further softening, a subtle release through the exhale. Use this awareness of the breath, this attention, to begin to draw you into the body, into the present moment. Anything you may have carried onto the mat with you today, with each exhale, just begin to let it go. Challenge yourself to be present here with your breath and body. And then let's begin to direct our attention to the low back, to the lumbar spine. Imagine that you are directing your breath into this area of the body. And imagine that you're opening up through this space. You're creating a little bit more openness and expansion here. Maybe you can even start to feel the skin around the back body start to expand a little bit more. While we settle in and breathe, I just want to talk about the back, the low back for a moment, this lumbar spine area. Now, a lot of people get discomfort, dysfunction, pain in this area, and a lot of the time this is blamed on poor posture, but there's really no scientific evidence for that. What it could potentially be, what some people are thinking it is that it's just not moving in the way it needs to move. We're just not taking the spine through its full range. And the lumbar spine really particularly is designed for flexion, so forward folding, and a little bit of extension. So about 60% going forward, 35% going back, a little bit of rotation, very, very small, like 5% of rotational availability there. And then lateral movement side to side is about 20%. So we're going to take it through all these different ranges to really get that spine feeling happy, mobilized, and supported. Let's take one last cycle of breath here. Deep inhale. And exhale, sigh it out. Inhale, open your eyes. Let's remove the block and reach it up and overhead. Bring your knees apart here, so your knees are now over your ankles. Squeeze the block and then start to stamp your low back down onto the floor, so you're not creating any space here, or onto your pillow. So you're pushing that back body down, those low ribs in the front draw together. Squeeze your block, grow a little bit longer, deep inhale. And exhale, go ahead and bring that block down to one side. And then we're going to lift up, remove your pillow from underneath your sacrum. You can keep your other pillow under your head if you'd like, or you can remove it. It's totally up to you. I'm just going to remove mine so I can feel my full spine on the floor. Bring your knees into your chest, grab onto your legs, but without squeezing. So we're not actively using our biceps, we're not squeezing, we're just holding. Stamp that low back down and just start to move side to side so you're feeling your back body against the floor. We're just starting to massage the tissues around the sacrum, that tailbone. Close your eyes if you can, and I want you to fully focus on the low back. What does your low back feel like? Where are you feeling sensation? Maybe take it round in a little circle. Another reason we move slow. Another reason some of us experience pain, discomfort here is actually because we have a very poor sense of awareness of this area of the body. You know, we're always looking forward, we're not looking at our low back very often, and therefore the mental map in our brain is sometimes missing some details. And when that's the case, and your brain doesn't have the full input of what's happening in this part of the body, then pain signals will arise sometimes when we do certain movements, because your nervous system is uncertain and it doesn't want you to move in an area that it doesn't have a full mental map of, a full picture of. So right now, we're just improving that proprioception, focusing on this area, and giving your nervous system, your central nervous system, input about what's happening in this area. Stimulating this area so we can improve that mental map, that proprioception. Let's take one last little cycle of movements here. Of course, moving with your breath. Deep inhale. And as you exhale, let's just bring those legs in, spine stillness, grab behind your thighs. And we're going to take a little rock and roll here, if that feels okay along your spine. So as you exhale, we're going to rock up, chin to chest, and inhale, rock down. And again, if you can, close your eyes, and I really want you to focus on all the sensations in your low back. What does your low back feel like? Nice, everyone. And then we're going to meet in a seat, and we're going to come into a tabletop, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. We're going to move through the slowest cat-cow that you've ever done, and we're going to try and have the eyes closed so we can fully start to notice what's happening in the spine. So as you inhale, you're going to allow the belly to lower. We're lifting the tail. The head is the last part of the spine to lift. And as you exhale, we're going to reverse, tucking the tail, drawing those low ribs up and in, and finally chin to chest. Do a few of these here with your breath. How slow can you make this? And focus on the sensations through all the different areas of your spine. There's quite a lot of spine here, quite a lot going on in this area. And I want you to focus on making these movements active. So there's support behind it. It's not just a flip-flop, but it's actively supported. Beautiful, everybody. And then we're gonna meet in neutral and come to a seat on your heels if you can. And you should have some pillows to hand here. So I'm just gonna use my big, thick pillow, and I'm gonna bring it between my bum and my heels. If you wanna sit on a bolster or literally any other seat, it doesn't matter. We're gonna start to distinguish between lumbar movement and the movement in the higher areas of the spine. So I know I say this all the time, but being able to articulate through these different areas is really great for the health of these different areas. So let's bring the hands onto your hips for a moment, and I want you to just lean back a little bit. So we're just tucking the tail just a smidge here. And then I want you to poke around and find your lowest ribs. So you're just giving yourself a little poke around the back. And your lumbar spine, it starts where the lowest rib ends, and then it comes all the way and attaches to the pelvis. So it's this little area here. Now, most people have 5 vertebrae here, but some people have 6, some people have 4. Doesn't really matter necessarily, but it's just interesting to know that that variation exists. Bring your hands onto your hips. Keep your neck in line with your shoulders, so we're not going to be leading with the head and the neck. And I want you to try to just start to move through the lumbar spine. Obviously the rest of the spine is connected, so it's going to move too, but we're going to try and really focus on just the lumbar spine. So as you inhale, you're going to allow the belly to come forward, and you're finding this little back bend in the lumbar. And as you exhale, we're going to bring the belly in, low ribs in, and it's this little flexion here, this little bit of rounding. Keep your hands on your hips so you can feel what's happening. And yes, your pelvis is helping. Yes, of course, the other parts of the spine are moving. But we're trying to really focus on just the lumbar movement. Close your eyes and see how slow and controlled you can make this. Almost to the point where it's shaky, where your brain is just a bit confused. It's struggling to catch up. And again, we're improving that mental map here as you focus on the lumbar. It's very easy to do this with no attention, no awareness, but we really want to build that mental map in the brain. Let's take one last cycle of breath here. Deep inhale in. As you exhale, let's come up to neutral. So, as I said in the beginning of class, you can actually play around with this a little bit. The lumbar spine, its predominant movement that it likes is folding forward. So you can take a little fold here, and you can notice this is how it's structurally designed. And then you can try and take it back into extension. So that's about 35% of its capability, 60% coming forward. And that's literally in the structure of the vertebrae. So the vertebrae are all different in different areas of the spine, and lumbar spine, they're the thickest, and they're oriented to make us move forward and back predominantly. And then we're going to meet in neutral. And now let's play with this side to side, so this lateral movement, which the lumbar spine can help out with. So So bring your hands behind your head, elbows wide. Inhale, lift and lengthen your spine. And exhale, let's bend to one side and try to focus on what's happening in the lumbar spine. Inhale, you're gonna lift up, and exhale, you're gonna bend. Keep it going, just moving with your breath, and just paying attention to what sensations arise through the low back, if any. Of course, there's a lot of other stuff moving us side to side, a lot of things involved here, but the lumbar spine is also included, and it does like a little bit of this lateral movement. Like I said, that's about, I think it's 20%, I have it written down, yeah, 20 degrees lateral, approximately, everyone's different. Nice, and then let's meet in neutral. Once you've done both sides, bring your hands onto the shoulders. Try and keep your chin over your sternum, so we're not going to twist with the neck. Draw your elbows back, squeeze your shoulder blades together and lengthen. Deep inhale. Exhale, we're going to twist to the right, and keep your attention with how much little movement, happens in the lumbar, and we're just going to move side to side. So again, most of the rotation is coming from the upper mid-back, that thoracic spine, but there's about 5 degrees of movement available in the lumbar, and this is because of the way that the vertebrae are structured. So pretty much when they start to rotate, they just knock into each other and they're just going to stop. So this is why we really don't want to try to force rotation through the lumbar. We really want it coming from that area around the rib cage. Just give it one more. Balance it out. Oof. Nice, and then come to neutral. Nice. Give your shoulders a little circle. Breathe deep here. Nice, and then just give it a little shake. All right, we're gonna bring our legs forward, and we're gonna keep our pillows underneath the bum here. I'm actually gonna use my slightly smaller pillow now. So you have like a rolled up blanket or a towel or something, that could be quite nice. Now, something that happens in forward folds a lot of the time is that we don't have access perhaps to the back of the legs so much, or there's a lot of tightness here around the pelvis. So we're going to come into Paschimottanasana. If it feels available, you can try straightening your legs, but do lift your seat up somehow. Lift your seat up, even if it's just a little cushion. Even though, yes, I could be all the way down on the floor, it feels more comfortable for me to have a little bit of height. Bring your hands onto your hips. Take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, we're going to start to come forward into flexion, but we're making it active. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, bringing it forward. Flexion. Inhale to lift. Keep your toes pointing up. Just one more. Come all the way down now. You can allow your back body to round. Maybe holding onto your feet or your ankles, but we're not pulling. We're just using that to ground us. Soften through the shoulders. And notice what's happening in the low back. If you feel too much tugging, too much pressure there, you don't want that. If you feel a big sensation, bend your knees. Bend your knees to create more space. So a lot of the time, it's not necessarily the low back that's stopping this, it's the muscles around that can be a bit tight. And if it feels better to bend the knees, then why the heck not? Nice. And as we inhale, let's slowly lift up. Cross your legs. We're going to talk about active flexion. So flexion is this, right? So we're bringing the two anterior parts of the body closer together. And I think flexion gets a really bad reputation because everyone in yoga is like, oh, we have to open, we have to open, we have to open. Yes, opening and extension is great, but active flexion, so actively rounding, is just as important, just as crucial. And the reason when we're sitting like this, it's passive, right? When we're on our desks, it's passive. So that's not doing us any good. But if we're actively moving through these ranges, it's really, really crucial and healthy. So let's interlace our fingers, flip your palms away from you, engage through your ankles as well, so you're flexing your feet. And as you exhale, I want you to actively come into flexion, so you're actively rounding here, and just notice what that feels like, and lean back. As you inhale, let's lift up into extension. Bring your knuckles to your sternum, push your sternum into your knuckles, and not so much is happening in the neck here. Keeping your palms forward here, palms forward, palms forward. As you exhale, you're gonna round, push the hands away, actively coming into flexion. And as you inhale, we'll lift up, actively coming into extension. Close your eyes and just try to do a few of these here on your own. And I want you to particularly focus on the flexion, so how that feels to actively round. And you'll notice you'll start to cultivate some heat here. You're going to start to feel some more sensation as we move these different tissues about. Nice, everybody. Let's take one last cycle of breath here. Deep inhale. And as you exhale, let's come up to neutral. Cross the other leg in front. So you're bringing whatever leg you don't already have in front. Flex through the feet. And of course, if this isn't a comfortable seat, any other seat will do. And then we're going to move through this extension again and flexion, but in a little different form. So let's bring the elbows forward, hands back, and imagine again that you're pushing your sternum into your hands. So you're lifting up. Find that lovely extension here. Maybe look up a little bit. And as you exhale, we're going to round, cross your arms, maybe even give yourself a little hug. As you inhale, come up, find extension. And as you exhale, we're going to round across the other arm on top and try to really lean back into those back ribs so that this cycle of extension and flexion is different than the one before. We're opening things up in a different way. Try and keep your eyes closed. Move slowly so you're really engaged and aware of the whole process the entire time. So I could ask you to just stop at any moment and you could hold it. Nice. And then finish up where you're at, come to neutral, and then we're going to get rid of those pillows if you were using one, and we'll come into down dog, planting those hands, lift the hips up and back, nice and high. Spread the fingers wide, bend the knees, and just give it a nice little walk here. And again, here in our down dog, where we're in a state of flexion, let's try to bring the breath into the back body here. Bringing the breath into the back, into those low ribs. Just finding a little bit more movement and space there. Nice. Let's take one last cycle of breath here. Inhale. And as you exhale, walk your hands back to your feet. Bend those knees generously to come into a forward fold here. Now, bring your hands underneath your shoulders, maybe to blocks or just to the floor, knees very bent. And then we're just going to move the rib cage side to side. So like you're pushing your rib cage into my hand on one side and then the other side. So we're moving the rib cage back and forth. Imagine that you're pushing those side ribs into my little invisible hand there. But relax your head, relax your neck. So we're just opening up through the side body, opening up through these tissues that can get a little bit tight, a little bit stubborn. Nice. And then find stillness. And on your next inhale, let's slowly start to roll up to stand. Chin tucked to your chest, head very, very, very heavy. And then we'll meet in neutral. Give it a nice little circle here. Nice. All right. We're going to come to the top of the mat. Have a cushion nearby. This is going to be for the knees. Come to the top of the mat. Feet hip distance. Inhale, sweep the arms up high. Push into your heels. Exhale, bend the knees, fold forward. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen your spine. Interlace your fingers and lift up a little bit higher. So you're making about a 45-degree angle now. And we're going to try to do this lumbar cat-cow. So as you inhale, you're going to drop the belly and you're coming into extension through the lumbar. And as you exhale, we're going to tuck, 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 tuck. And we're going to come into that flexion in the lumbar. Just a few of these here on your own. Try to move very slowly and deliberately. This should feel like work. Yeah, it can be really easy if I'm just like, doing this. Nothing's really happening. So I want you to find that shaky point. Usually the rounding part, the flexion bit, is hard for most people. That's for most people. Make sure your spine is still long though. Your knees are bent. Yeah, that's it, Ross. Lifting up a bit higher. Nice. Make sure that it's just the lumbar that's moving. So Ross, it's too much of the rest of the body. So neck is still, the upper back is still, it's just the lumbar. I know we all want to do the neck as well because it's easy to move the neck in that way. Whew. And then come to stillness. Whew. Nice, lower all the way down, exhale. Let's step the left leg back and come into Anjaneyasana for a moment. So this typical lunging position, I like to use a pillow, you don't have to. So we've got that left leg pretty far back, pretty much as far back as it goes. Now, this is a very common yoga posture, and I think a lot of the time it's a bit misguided in its goal. A lot of the time we think that it's opening up the front of the hip, because it looks like that, right? Like, it looks like the front of the hip is getting a lot here. And it is getting something, but it's mostly the quadricep. If you start to come forward with that back knee now. So actually, sorry, just hold it here for a moment. Just notice what you're feeling. What can you feel in the front of the hip? And of course, you may feel something. And then we're going to bring it forward, and we're going to come into this 90-90 shape. Now, the reason I've started to prefer this shape, with the knee directly underneath the hip, with the arms up here as well, the reason I come to prefer this is because you're getting much more hip extension, and you immediately get into these hip flexors more. So let's tuck the back toes, firm through your glutes. Bring your right hand to the left glute, reach your left arm high, and let's find some length here through the side body. And right away, probably, I hope you're feeling more sensation through the front of the hip. When these hip flexors are very tight, this can lead to stuff in the low back. This can lead to some discomfort in the low back. This can lead just to some stuff perhaps not feeling great. And I really like this posture to open things up here much more than our traditional low lunge. Nice, let's take one last cycle of breath here. Deep inhale. And as you exhale, bring the left hand down. Keep the right hand on your bum or on your sacrum. And as you exhale, we're just gonna rotate through that upper mid back. As you inhale, turn down, face the floor. Exhale, lift up and twist. And just notice where the twist is coming from. Inhale, turn down. Just one more here. Exhale to lift and twist. Keep your glutes fired up and maybe reach your right arm high if that feels appropriate. Push into your bottom hand, and this push is going to give you more rotation in that thoracic spine. Deep inhale in. And as you exhale, slowly start to come on down. Step back. Let's go ahead and find our tabletop, and we'll get rid of those pillows if we're using them. Now, one thing that's also really important, of course, for the lumbar is stability. So we're going to work on some stability at the moment. Knees under hips, tuck your toes. Push into your hands, shoulder blades flat across the rib cage. And as you exhale, hover your knees off the floor. Firm into the low belly, push into your hands. So we're starting to play with the stability across the entire spine, and especially lumbar. Nice. Inhale, lower down. Knees down. Exhale, lift up. Either hang out here, or if you can keep your spine in the same exact shape, start to push your left heel back and extend your left leg. Firm your glutes right away. Notice what happens in the lumbar spine. If there's any collapse here, push through the heel. Nice. Bring both knees down. Come down for a moment. Take an inhale. Nice. And as you exhale, we'll lift up just one more time. Hover those knees up off the floor. Push into the hands. First, find support around the spine. So you're firming through the low belly, pushing into the hands. And maybe push your right heel back all the way, keeping your glutes on. It's the glutes that are extending the leg in this way. That's keeping this from traveling into the lumbar. Keep your head engaged as well. Head engaged as well. Yeah, that's it, Anna. Push the head back a little bit as if you're pushing it into my hand. Nice, and then come all the way down. Stunning job, everybody. Okay, now let's talk about the low back and chaturanga. Actually, come for a sit for a moment. You can just roll your ankles, your what are these? Wrists. The ankles of the forearms. Okay, nice, because I know that can be a lot. So we're going to talk about chaturanga here. Now, one reason that we want to keep the glutes on in chaturanga, and I know most people don't, is because, again, it's adding that extra layer of support to the low back. And when I say I want the front body engaged, I don't mean that you're clenching your six-pack abs, right? I mean that we're drawing those low ribs in, and it's the deep core muscles that are on. So you're not gripping, we're not gripping like, it's just this subtle engagement through the deep core, for those of you who remember transverse abdominis, but we'll do a review on that as well later. So let's come into a table, walk your knees back behind your hips. We're going to keep the knees down for this chaturanga. Keep your toes tucked, firm through the glutes. Right. In fact, just let your glutes go, and right away just notice what happens in your low back. Let the glutes go, just be really soggy. Notice the low back. Mine right away comes into an arch. And then engage your glutes, push into your hands, engaging through the deep core, and just notice the difference there. Maybe that feeling of stability, of security around the low back. Inhale. Exhale, bend the elbows, and very slowly start to lower with the same engagement, with the same control, keeping that low back supported, supported, supported. Oh, and then come all the way down. Amazing. All right, bring your elbows down to the floor. Spread your fingers. Inhale, and as you exhale, rise up. Find cobra. Maybe your elbows lift, maybe not. Now, same thing here. I want you to let go of your glutes. Just let your glutes be really soggy. Notice your low back. What does your low back feel like? What shape is it in? And now I want you to engage your glutes. So squeeze those glutes. You can't overdo it. You cannot overdo it. That's actually a good myth. I'll talk about that. Squeeze your glutes, and try and draw your low ribs in so that deep core layer is on. Your low belly is lifting a little bit here. And the low back should feel more support now. And then exhale, lower. Give me a thumbs up if that made sense, if that resonated with you, if you felt that support. Yay, amazing. Okay, and then we're gonna slide back, come into child's pose. And I'm gonna talk about this myth that I just remembered. So I remember when I started my yoga journey that some teachers would tell me not to over-engage the glutes because it's going to compress the low back. That is a lie. That's a myth. If you look at anatomy, if you look at where the glutes, these three muscles attach, there's no way that they could compress the low back. So if anyone has said that to you and you're like, oh no, I can't engage my glutes because it's going to compress my sacroiliac joints, going to compress my low back, it's not a thing. Okay, you cannot overdo it in your glutes. Just turn them on. So that's my little TED talk. And then let's come up into our down dog. Find your downward facing dog. Lengthen your spine. Nice, give it a little bit of a walk. Shake the head a little side to side. Nice, bend the knees. Lengthen your spine here. Inhale, look forward. And exhale, step your left leg forward. And bring your right knee down into your low lunge, into Anjaneyasana here. Let's go ahead and lift our hands up this time because I just want you to feel the difference. So we're just lifting up, and I just want you to allow everything to sag. Your glutes are turned off, and this is a position a lot of people are in a lot of the time. And then they'll reach their arms up, no glutes on, and then they'll take it back into a back bend. And what happens when we do this is most of the load of that back bend then gets transferred into the low back and not evenly distributed, which, as you can imagine, we don't really want. So let's find our 90-90 now. Bringing that back knee in closer, tucking the toes, and lifting up. Engage through the glutes, and I want you to take a moment to notice how this feels, how the low back feels, any differences between the two shapes. Left hand to those right glutes so you can feel the muscle firing. Right arm reaches up high, lengthen through the side body, and lean back a little bit. So we're opening up through these hip flexors, through the ilio-psoas muscle. That should be the next one, shouldn't it? It should be psoas. Yeah, we should do one on psoas. Lift up nice and high. Deep inhale. Exhale, right hand down. And inhale, left shoulder comes up into an easy little rotation here. Notice where the twist is coming from. Nice. Inhale, let's turn down, face the floor. Exhale, lift and twist. Where's the rotation happening? Inhale to lower, turn it down. One more, push into your bottom hand to initiate the rotation, hold. An option to lift your left arm up high as you ground into your right hand. Breathe into the belly, into the low ribs. One last inhale. Exhale, bring the left hand down. Step forward, find a forward fold. Hang heavy here, give the head a little bit of a shake side to side. Nice, and then as you inhale, let's lift all the way up to stand. Palms touch, look up. And exhale, hands down. All right, for a moment here, we're gonna come into a one-legged Tadasana, bringing the knee to your belly, ground into your bottom foot, hands can be at heart center. Start to extend your left leg behind you without leaning forward, so keeping your shoulders over your hips, and you're just pushing your foot back. Now, you should feel your glutes fire here. Now, I'm talking about this because we're bringing the hip into extension, we're bringing the leg behind us, and this is the main role of glute max here. It's the main guy who's doing this. Come up, and then plant it down, and then same thing other side. I just want you to start to feel glute maximus in particular, start to fire, and notice that point where this big old muscle here, glute max, starts to engage, pushing back. This is why we want this muscle engaged in every back bend, every single time, because it's the role of this muscle to move the leg into this hip extension. It has to be on in order for this to be all supported. And then come back, nice. Let's do that one more time without our glutes. So bring the leg up, push it back, and can you do it without your glutes? Can you do it without that muscle firing? I pretty much can't. I almost really can't do it. No, I can't do it. Try the other side. You can even have your hand on your bum and see if it's even possible. And if it is possible, where are you feeling it instead? If it is happening in your body, where instead are you feeling that extension in the hip? Because it's going to have to come from somewhere else. Whew, nice. Now, what happens in a lot of people when the glutes stop engaging, when they stop firing, it all starts to go into the lumbar spine. All the load is going to the lumbar. When we're climbing stairs and we're not using our glutes, it's all this lumbar spine. When we're sitting down and we come up to stand and our glutes aren't firing up, it's all going into the lumbar spine. So we cannot have a chat about lumbar without those glutes. I know I'm obsessed with the glutes, but there's a good reason. All right, let's keep going. Let's come to the top. Inhale, let's sweep the arms up high. Exhale, bend the knees, hinge at the hips. Notice the low back here, any tugging, any discomfort. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen. And exhale, lift up a little higher. We're gonna find this 45 degrees. Interlace your fingers. Everything from the neck to that lowest rib is gonna try and be still. And then we're just going to tuck the tail as we exhale. And we're gonna tilt the tail up as we inhale. Find this point where it's a little bit shaky for you. And if it's not feeling shaky, go slower. Try to keep your spine long. Try not to move any other area of the spine, just that lumbar area, just the low back and pelvis. Yeah, nice. If you do have low back pain, this is a really good thing to do for the back. Take one last cycle here. And then come to neutral and exhale, fold all the way down. Whew. Nice, let's step that right leg back. And we're gonna come into Anjaneyasana actually. Now I'm not saying that this posture is bad because it isn't. So we're gonna talk about ways to make this more supported. So let's lift up, because this is not a bad posture. It's just not getting into the hip flexors as much as some people claim. We're gonna talk about how to make this supportive for the lumbar. So first, I want you to think about pulling your left foot back. It's not going to move, but you're engaging the muscles in the leg to tug it back, and you're going to feel some heat. Engage through your glutes. Surprise, surprise. Engage through your glutes. Nice. So you're pulling that left foot back, and then you're engaging your glutes. And now, last thing, can you start to push your right knee forward? So your back knee is moving forward, your left foot is pulling back. And it's the balance So I'm going to show you with my hands. It's the balance of these opposing forces meeting in the middle that's going to give you some really great stability. You should feel hot now. You should be feeling some heat. Yeah? Thumbs up. Feeling some heat? So yeah, good. All right, bring your hands to heart center, thumbs to your sternum. We're going to take this into a back bend, but a strong, supported back bend. Push your sternum up into your thumbs right away. So we're already starting the back bend before we lean back. We're not leaning back at all. You're just lifting your chest up to your thumbs, and you're starting to push the chest up, and we're not letting the head drop back. The head is engaged. As you exhale, you're going to start to lean back, but still lifting your sternum up as if there's a string attached to your breastbone, pulling it to the ceiling. And you're going to find that you're not going to go as far. Look up to the ceiling, keep your glutes on, keep pulling your left foot back, right knee moving forward, and you'll find there's not as much range there. Nice. And then slowly, slowly, slowly come back. Nice. Give me a thumbs up if that was really hard, if you felt a lot of heat there. Good. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Inhale, sweep the arms up high. Exhale, bring the hands down. Step back. Let's find our high plank for a moment. Again, beautiful pose to stabilize the whole spine. Firm through your glutes and engage through the front body. Push into your hands. You can always, always bring your knees down. And then we're just going to lift the left leg up without moving anything in the spine. So it's just the glutes and the hamstrings. Lifting the leg and then the right leg up. So try to keep everything else still. Imagine perhaps you have a cup of hot tea on your back and you don't want to spill that hot tea. One more time, left leg up, pushing into those hands. Woo, arms strong. One more time, right leg up. Exhale helps with that lift. And then bring it down. Bring your knees down. Find a seat and just roll your wrists. Breathe deep. All right, the next posture we're going to talk about that I see a lot of collapse in the lumbar spine all the time is, of course, upward facing dog. So grab some blocks if you have them, and if you don't, it's okay. But if you do, grab some blocks. They're going to be for underneath your hands. Now, it's the same thing. You'll start to hear this pattern. When we're doing a back bend, we need the glutes on, we need the front body on as well to keep the lumbar spine supported. Otherwise, all of the load is transferred into the low back, which over time is probably not going to be ideal for us. So, hands on your blocks, walk your knees back just as if we're going to do that chaturanga, that little baby chaturanga here. So knees behind the hips a little bit. Firm through your glutes. Inhale. Exhale. Start to lower. Bend the elbows. Front body is on. The glutes are on. And as you inhale, push your chest forward. Come into up dog with your knees down. Push your heels back. Push into your hands, shoulders down, and firm your glutes. Imagine that same action of extension that we just did in Anjaneyasana. So you're lifting the breastbone up and you're finding extension around the shoulder blades and you're keeping your glutes on to keep the pelvis steady and the low back supported. You're not going to come as far, right? Inhale. Exhale. Push up and back into your down dog. Keep your hands on your blocks. Bend your knees and just give it a little bit of movement here, maybe pedaling out through the legs. And using the blocks in this way, if that felt really good, keep doing it because it's a nice way to gain a little bit more control and to make it just a little less intense, especially if we have something happening in the lumbar already. Nice, let's bend the knees and lengthen the spine. Step your right leg forward. And bring your left leg down. We're going to set up for Anjaney, making it strong and engaged. Again, I just like a pillow, but you don't have to. All right, as you inhale, let's lift up. And right away, we're going to start to pull that right foot back. This is isometric. And all that means is there's muscle engagement, but without big dynamic movement. So you can't tell that I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. Glutes are on. Start to draw that left knee forward. So it's this action, right foot drawing back, left foot drawing forward. And it's these two forces meeting in the middle to give us stability. Bring your hands to your sternum. Start the back bend here. This is where it all starts. Inhale, start to lift your sternum up towards your thumbs. Your glutes are really strong. And maybe you start to look up to the ceiling, pushing your breastbone up. And then maybe you start to lean back a little if that feels appropriate. But stop going back when the engagement stops. If there's a point that you just lose it, then that's the point that you know you need to stop at. Keep breathing, keep breathing, keep breathing. One last inhale. Exhale, slowly come back through center. Nice, everyone. It's amazing what just a little bit of engagement will do. Reach your arms up high, and as you exhale, bring your hands down, step forward, forward fold, hang heavy, allow everything to be round. Inhale, let's lift all the way up to stand, palms touch, look up. Exhale, hands come down. Nice, give it a little shake, a little wiggle. Nice, all right, let's keep it going. Inhale, sweep the arms high. Exhale, bend the knees, come down. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale to fold. Inhale, let's go ahead and step that right leg back. Knee down, Anjaneyasana. And we're going to rise up, find that engagement. Pull the left foot back, right glutes are on, right knee moves forward. This time, we're going to bring our thumbs under our armpits, I hope you're not too sweaty, and hug your elbows in. Now imagine you're lifting yourself up like you're wearing yourself as a backpack, lifting your sternum up, and with this engagement through the legs, through the glutes, you're just going to start to lean back and keep lifting, and it's that upper part of the back rising up. Nice, and you don't have to come very far. Remember, deeper is not better. Gorgeous, and then come back through center. Nice, beautiful job. And then we're gonna go ahead and actually play with our balance a little bit here. So we're gonna bring the left leg back towards the right leg. So we're gonna start to lift it up, see what happens, and then set it down. If you're using a pillow, it makes it a lot harder. All right, and then we're gonna set up for camel pose for Ustrasana. If you have blocks, let's use some blocks. So classic back bend, a lot of people don't have their glutes on for. So we're actually going to start in a slightly different shape. So toes tucked, if you can get your heels to your bum, great. If you're a little bit higher, it's okay, doesn't matter. But we're gonna try to start lower, bringing your blocks on either side of your feet. And let's turn the fingers out. So fingers turn out to the sides. As you exhale, let's start to lift the hips up, squeeze your glutes, squeeze your shoulder blades, and then lower. Woo. Nice. Turn your fingers to the back of the mat, and as you exhale, you're gonna push those hips up, pushing into camel, squeeze your glutes, and lift the breastbone up. Notice the lumbar spine. We're not collapsing the head back. Keep a little engagement through the front of the throat, little tuck of the chin. Nice, and then gently, gently lower, down, 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 bum to heels. Nice. Now it's up to you if you want to take this further or if you want it to be more shallow. If you want it to be softer, hands to the low back and fingers point down. I really shouldn't say the low back. It's really actually the glutes here, the pelvis. Elbows in, squeeze your glutes, and then you're gonna push your hips forward, lift the breastbone. Honestly, for me, and I have a low back thing, this is all I want. This is it. I'm not gonna come much deeper. If you wanna bring your hands to your heels, give it a go. But if that doesn't feel appropriate, don't worry about it. Notice if you're collapsing through that extension. If you can reach the heels, but you can only reach the heels because your glutes are off and you're not finding that lift through the sternum, then don't do it. Gorgeous, and then everybody slowly come all the way back through center. Nice. All right, now we're going to step forward with our right leg, and we're gonna see if we can balance, and then we're gonna step into Anjaneyasana. Give that left knee a little scoot back. If it needs it, lift up high. Draw your right foot back, left knee is forward. And those glutes are on, of course. And you'll notice the moment the glutes are on, you're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to collapse into that back body. It's just impossible. Bring your thumbs into your armpits. Inhale, lift the breastbone up. So we're finding this even curve through the entire spine. And as you exhale, you're just going to start to bring it back, keeping those glutes on. Gaze to the ceiling maybe. And notice your low back. The second you start to feel any compression, any pinch, any collapse into your low back, come out. If you feel all the load moving to the low back, come out. Nice, and then we're going to meet in neutral inhale. Woof. Nice, and let's bring it back to Ustrasana. See how it goes. Bringing the knees together. Knees are about hip distance apart here. Nice, we're going to talk about one more variation here. So you do not have to grab your heels in order to reach back for them, which I kind of like. So anytime we're in a back bend like this, we want to have this specific kind of back bend. We want to be squeezing the shoulder blades together. So just take a moment, squeeze your shoulder blades, and just notice right away, your breastbone lifts, your sternum will lift, you're finding more extension here. And this could literally be it, right? You're just holding this here, your glutes are on, right? If you wanted a little bit more, you start to bring your hands back towards your heels and try to have your hands on the inside edge of your ankle here. So as you have your hands on the inside edge, your thumb points back, and this again just helps you squeeze and retract those shoulder blades to further lift your chest. Yeah, but you don't have to grab the feet. Nice, and as you exhale, let's lift up. Whew. Well done, everyone. And then we're just gonna come to a seat. And let's sit on our pillows once again. And we're going to do some supported twists here. So let's bring that left leg in, right leg long. Press your right heel down into the floor, and remember, you can always bend your knee. Doesn't have to be straight. Inhale, lift your chest, lengthen your spine. And as you exhale, twist round to the left, wrapping your right arm around your left leg. Soften the shoulders. Notice where the rotation's coming from. Keep that subtle engagement through the bottom leg, so a little engagement through the quadricep. Take a moment to notice the low back, the lumbar spine. How much is it actually twisting? Is there any discomfort here? Inhale. And as you exhale, extend your arms forward and back. Hold the twist, so it's active. That's it, nice, active range, soften the shoulders. And then I want you to do 5 little pulses to the left into your twist. So exhale, you're just gonna twist. Inhale, you're just gonna come out a little. Exhale to twist, so you're just pulsing it. Inhale to come out. Exhale, twist. Inhale, retreat. Exhale, twist. You're gonna feel pretty hot. One more. Whew. And then bring it on down. Nice, and we'll take it around the other side. That got me really, really warm. All right, left leg long, right leg is bent. So let's grab onto the shin. Inhale, lift your chest, lengthen, ground into your left leg. And as you exhale, rotate around to the right arm behind you. Soften the shoulders. Notice where in the body the rotation is coming from. Remember, we don't want so much in the neck. That's it, Sylvia. Nice. Now, less in the neck, babe. Yeah. Nice. One last inhale. Exhale, extend your arms, holding that active range. And we're going to give it 5 pulses. So exhale, you're going to twist just a little bit further using your muscles. Inhale, you're going to come out a bit. Exhale, twist. Inhale, retreat. Exhale, twist. Inhale, retreat. Exhale, twist. Just one more. Inhale, come out. Exhale, twist. Lean forward a little bit more. Spine is long. And then slowly face forward. Oh, nice. Now some of you with that, I saw your shoulders getting a little bit tense there. Your shoulders are like, oh, we can help. So just make sure those shoulders aren't trying to be the spine. And then we're going to take our blocks. We're going to bring our blocks pretty much underneath our knees. And then we're going to bring our pillows or maybe a bolster on top of that. And we're going to fold forward, and it should feel really nice. It should feel supported. So we're just helping the pelvis move forward with that pillow under the pelvis. We're giving the back of the legs some more space, and this is just going to allow us to find a little more flexion. Coming on down. Now, you could hold your feet or ankles, but we're not pulling, right? So if they just happen to land there, that's fine, but we're not actively pulling here. And if this still doesn't feel appropriate for your back, if you still feel too much tug through the lumbar, get another pillow between your thighs and your belly, or a bolster, just something to create that even more space if you need it. Once again, let's direct our breath into the low back here. Try to find a deeper sense of expansion through this area, a deeper sense of movement. And one last little myth to bust here is forward folds, this flexion we're in now. Sometimes I've heard people say that it is bad for herniated discs, or it can cause a herniated disc, and there's just no evidence to support forward folds causing herniation. So if you have heard that and you're a bit afraid or nervous, just let it go. Let it go. There's no evidence to support that. Let's take one last breath here. Deep inhale in. And as you exhale, slowly start to come up. Take your time. Nice. All right, let's go ahead and get situated onto our backs here so we can get rid of our little props for now. Come onto the back. Should feel nice. And let's bring those knees in. Give yourselves a little squeeze. And just take easy little movements side to side. And once again, let's close our eyes. Focus on the sensations through the low back. If you feel a little area of tightness or sensitivity, perhaps you could hold in that spot for a breath or two. And then we'll all find a neutral position. Bring your hands around the shins, and as you exhale, lift your nose up to your knees. Squeeze really tight. Just notice how this feels. And then lower all the way down. Bring your legs nice and wide. Palms turn up to the ceiling for Shavasana. Close the eyes, close the mouth. Take a moment here to observe the low back one last time. The low back is really a wonder of human evolution because of its natural concave shape. We are allowed to be bipedal. So without our low back, we cannot be our human selves. And really the best preventative measures we can take to keep this area of the body happy is to move it through the full range and to improve our awareness of this space. Let's take a deep inhale in and sigh it out. Gently roll onto one side. Bring the knees to the belly, chin to chest. Rest here a moment. Inhale, rise up to a seat. Try and keep your eyes closed, your face soft. Inhale, bring the hands together. Exhale, bow the head, press the thumbs between the eyebrows. Inhale, lift the head, open the eyes, and thank you so much for your practice today. Thank you so much for sharing that practice with me today. If you enjoyed this class, please give the video a little thumbs up, write a comment below, ask me any questions, let me know how you're feeling. And if you want to support the channel, subscribe, turn on notifications so you won't miss the next class that I post next week. See you on the mat soon.